Hey everyone, this is Adrian. I thought we should do something different today. We ran into somebody needed a feature yesterday. Actually, they couldn't do something, and we figured out we need to build this feature into Avo. So I thought it would be nice to show you how we get from like the GitHub issue and the request to actually implementing it and releasing the public feature. So today we're going to speak about this ticket, this GitHub issue. So 1604, you can check it out on our GitHub repo. Paul, which is a longtime customer and supporter of Avo, came up with this issue, like unable to build a custom dashboard dependent on current user. So you can check it out. But most importantly, they have a dashboard where they have different types of users coming onto that dashboard, and they want to display different things, right? So maybe, I don't know, let's say a card with the number of users that should be available to the admin, and that should not be available to a regular user. So after a little bit of back and forward, asking like, okay, what are you trying to achieve? What are the limitations? How about something like this? We figured out like, hey, we need to add something to Avo, and I'll show you in a little bit what that is. So Avo supports that has the dashboards feature. So you can create, I'm going to go into the code. So this is the repo. This is Avo this is the main branch. We're good. Let me just start the server. So what happens is Avo supports having dashboard. So this is the Dashi dashboard, right? So Dashi. Okay, so on this dashboard, you can add multiple cards like example metric, example area chart, scatter, metric, and so on. So again, metric, area, scatter, metric. So all of these cards are added to the dashboard. But if you want to show only a few, maybe you want to show these two for everybody, but these two only for the admins, there's not really a way to do that right now. And this is what we're trying to do. So the dashboards already have this self-visible block or self-authorize. We're probably just gonna end up using one, but self-visible block, which you can toggle the visibility of the full dashboard. So now if I go to a different page, you'll see, you should see. Oh yeah, actually you're not allowed to see it. It's showing up in the menu because we need to hide it there from the Avo initializer as well. So from here, so this is controlled also from here. But yeah, so the Dashi dashboard is visible or is not visible using this block. You can change that, but cards don't have that self-visible block, right, where you can say true or false. If I go to this page, you'll see an undefined method visible. So this is what we're going to add today. So this visible option, class attribute that will allow you to properly scope out, like create the proper cards for show or hide the proper cards for this dashboard. Okay, coolio. So let's get into it. So first of all, let's go to dashboards, to base dashboard, and see how we do it here. So we do have this visible class attribute, which defaults true. So let's see where we use it. We have this is visible method, which checks that class attribute, and if it's true, it responds yes, it's visible. If it's false, it's not visible. And then it will try to respond to and then if it responds to call, then that means that it's a block. Then run it inside a host, and I'll explain a little bit what the host is. So the host is a construct. It's something that we thought of after we did a lot of meta programming. It's actually in Avo 3, it's going to be renamed into an execution context, and it's much more extendable and modular. So an execution context or a host is just a class where you add a couple of attributes, and then you give it a block, and that block executes inside that let's say execution context. Inside that, it has that context. So it will have available like the context, the current user, the params. Now we give it a dashboard and so on. So now if I'm going to go back to the dashboard and say self visible true, this block will get executed inside this host, and it will have it will have access to everything inside here. So you can use, so let me just do this. You can use any of these dashboard. So you can use any of these options in here. So basically, you're not running this block in void. You have access to a few things. So we give you the params, we give you the actual dashboard, the current user context, and that's about it for this block. Yeah, so you can properly scope out this dashboard. So you can say if current user is admin, right? You can do something, or just return this, and everything will be perfect. And only if the current user is admin will be able to see this dashboard. Cool. So we want to add this as well. Where were we? So this is my way of doing things. So first of all, we should go to base card and add base dashboard. Where is it? Yep. And base card, and add this as well. So the visible, and then is hidden is visible. Let's move this as well here. We'll refactor that later. We also have a divider available. So that's a different thing, base divider. So we'll have to add that as well. And this too, this class attribute. Perfect. And now let's try it with the example metric. So let's try it again, self visible true, and refresh. Oh yeah, it's not erroring out anymore, but we still see it. So we're going to go to dashboards show, and this is the page where we display this dashboard, and we want to find out, so dashboard items. Okay, let's see dashboard. We're going to go back to base dashboard and go to items. Okay, so it returns the items holder, which has all of the cards and the divider. So now let's just filter, do item, and say item is visible, and refresh. Maybe let's restart server to make sure. Okay, but okay, let's make it false. Yeah, that could work. So okay, we have that card hidden, so that's perfect. Now let's try it with a divider as well. So a divider, I'm just gonna throw this in here as the first thing. Doesn't matter. And the divider, okay, so we don't have a divider class. Okay, let's just leave it here, and we'll get to it later, because I have a fix for that as well. Cool. So now let's dry it up a little bit. So first of all, we have this class attribute. This is something that we can extract. We have these methods. This is something that we can extract. So let's create a concern. So I'm gonna go to my avolib concerns and say visible in dashboard. Visible in dashboard. Naming things is hard as hell. So let's just take all of this and perfect. So this will be visible in dashboard. Okay, perfect. So what did we say we're gonna do? So we're gonna move this as a class attribute. So in the included, this would be added to the class. So I can delete this. And now let's bring all of this is visible into the visible in dashboard. Perfect. And let's add this to this base card. Okay. So let's do this. And now include, yep, perfect. Let's reboot the server and make sure everything works. This is like manual TDD, of course. Yes, perfect. This still works. And now let's add it to the where is it? To the base divider as well. And we'll talk about this a little bit later. Okay. And yep, this is good. Okay, perfect. Nothing broke. Cool. And now let's add it to the base dashboard. Okay. Include it. Let's remove the visible. And now it's hidden, is visible. Let's remove this and refresh. Okay, let's reboot the server because I think we're going to have a surprise here. So yeah, okay. Undefined method is hidden for Dashi class. So as you can see, this is actually a class. And this, so what happens is when you use include, all of these methods are going to be added to the, because this is a concern, these methods are going to be added to the instance object. But the dashboard has something like, I think it has a bad implementation. So instead of using an instance for the dashboard, I'm actually using just a class, and all of those methods, they were just class methods. So in order to get that working again, I will have to use extend, right? And now if I refresh, perfect, everything works. So I'm going to do another thing. So I'm going to add a to-do, move, or maybe convert the dashboards from classes to instances. And I'm going to probably make this a GitHub issue or something, because this is definitely not the best type of implementation, and we can change it so we don't have the two ways of doing things. But cool, let's get back a little bit to the dashboard. No, actually the visible and dashboard concern. There's one more thing. So on the dashboard, you see if this is a block, it responds to this host, so dashboard visibility, which has access to the params, current user, and the dashboard. But actually for the cards and the dividers, we actually want to have a card visibility. So a card visibility host, a card. And now we're going to add one more thing. We're going to add a card. Okay, and we're gonna change the dashboard to a parent. And this is because we want to bring something new in the future. We want to bring on resource cards. So you'll be able to add the same type of cards to your resources up top and to like your records as well. So then you won't have access to a dashboard, but you'll the dashboard, you'll actually have access to a resource. So we're just merging them together, and it's just going to be generically called a parent, right? Because a card can be added to a parent, right? So we're gonna make this a parent, and then let's dry it up a little more. So visible in dashboards, and let's just say if this responds to a call block, okay? And this call block method is going to be this one. And by default is going to use the dashboard visibility. But if we go into a base card, we can override it here at the end, call block, and we're going to use card visibility, and we're going to say card, it's actually self, so that instance, and the parent, it's actually, let's see, do we have it? It's actually the dashboard. So we have attribute accessor. Yeah, perfect. The parent is actually the dashboard. Perfect. So now the card has access to itself and the parent. And let's do the same for the base divider as well. Perfect. Let's reboot the server because some of these, sorry about that. Some of these concerns hold methods in memory, so perfect. So undefined method visible for Dashi class. Okay, perfect. So because this is a concern, but inside the base dashboard, we added it, we extended it, we need to bring it back as a class attribute because that would not be applied. Okay. Okay. Remove this when when you make the conversion. Perfect. Refresh. Okay. Filter for nil class. So where does this happen? So base dashboard 55. 55. Okay. Filter. Items holder. Okay, let's see. Let's see. So items holder, class attribute. Why isn't this working? Okay, a glitch in the matrix maybe. Okay, so this is a dashboard that does not have default to an array. Okay, perfect. Okay, cool. So what happens is that this dashboard sales actually does not have anything. So this is something that is, I don't know what's gnarly about, like auto loading and everything. Oh yeah, I know what's happening. Yep. So I don't know if this is a bug or anything, but the class attribute method, whenever you use an array, this kind of adds it to their descendants as well. So all the descendants of base dashboard get the same. It's not, they don't start from an empty array, but they kind of inherit from each other. It's something very freaking weird. So you must not use like default array. So we need to do something else in this filter. Let's say items, and say items equals items holder or an empty array. Okay, so now we're back to everything we had. Let's just refresh to make sure. Coolio. Perfect. What's next? So this feature is pretty much like, this will cover all of Paul's needs, I think. But I think we can make it a little bit better. So let's do this. Inside a dashboard file, right? Wherever we declare the cards, we made this these things where you can add arguments, right? We made this feature. So you can have example metric, have a label and the description and calls and ranges and everything else. But if you want to override them in your dashboard file, we make this easier by enabling you to actually pass those options, right? Because if you want to add the same metric, right, with a different label, you would have to create another class and add the different label. But now you can use the same one and just override some arguments, right, and pass some options. Cool. So let's do the same thing. So I'm gonna go back into example metric and take out this visible block. Okay, and let's add it here. So visible is actually false. If I refresh, we're gonna error out. We don't have that. We have unknown keyword visible. That's because the method that registers the card doesn't know about visible. So let's do that. So base dashboard, we go to the card method. So this is where we register. So we take the class and the label and the description, everything I showed you, and the arguments. And now we have to add visible to it, which is, should we default to nil? Let's say nil. And then we just pass it to the card, visible. Perfect. And now we go to base card and add it to the initializer. Visible equals nil, and then description visible again, and let's add it as an accessor, visible. Okay, that sounds good. Let's refresh. That looks good. Okay, this is something. Let me just refresh this. Okay, because we defaulted to nil, right? Okay, this looks good. Let's see. So you have self visible here, and then we provided there dashboard visibility. This is not it. Card visibility. This is not it. Visible and dashboard. So let's bring this closer. So we have visible. Okay, so visible response to call. So what is visible to this? Okay, cool. So the example metric, which comes from the base card. Okay, let's do this. So basically the visible block is now coming from two parts. So one that can be a class attribute, or that can be something passed from the parent. So we now have to override this. So let me just get this off of here and say visible, and visible is actually visible, the instance variable. So if we override it in the parent, or self class visible, or we're going to use the visible from the class attribute. Let's see. Good, looks like it's working. Going back to Dashi. Visible false. Not found. Why is that? Oh, because, okay, sorry. So this is the dashboard. We need to go to example metric. So visible, let's set this to true. Okay. Oh, okay. I know what we have to do. Set this to true. Okay, because this is the override. Cool. So now we can control the visibility from the dashboard as well as from the card. So if it's a very specific card, you can use this one on the metric. But if it's a card that's more generic and you use it in multiple places, then you can use this type of visibility. Now, I noticed something in Paul's snippet. So they had something like this, like if current user has a role, then do the divider. So that would pretty much translate into, let me just duplicate this, into if current user is admin, right? And we should show it. Now this will not work because when the Dashi class gets evaluated, the current user is not available. It might not. So this might be this could be, depending on the setup, this could be evaluated on boot time. So when the Rails app boots up, but not when they have a request, right? So you get the current user from that request. You do it from the session or from cookies or whatever, JWT, and when this boots up, that there's no request, so definitely no current user. So that's why you cannot do this type of construct. You cannot do if something, then do this. You can do like if true, if you want, this is good, but current user, this is not going to be available. So that's why we have this construct visible, and you give it a block, because we can take this block and evaluate it on runtime when the full page loads up. Okay, so this is why this construct is not going to work. So this is the same when when you're doing resources. So you have a bunch of fields, and you just want to say if I don't know, okay, current user, whatever, is admin, show me these fields, and then when it's not, then show me, don't show them, or whatever you can do else. This is not going to work. In Avo 3, we're working on fixing this. So we're going to change the API just a little bit here, but it's going to allow you to do a lot more things. You can do like if record.id is something, or if resource has option, whatever, you can go wild. So we're working on this, but you can't do this in Avo 2. So you cannot do this, but you have this visible block available where you can execute everything inside the card visibility host, right? So you have access to block, current user, context, the parent, the card, and the params, right? Coolio. So what else? Okay, so let's do the same for the divider. So let's go to Dashi, back. Let's get this out of our way. Visible true, visible, let's do visible false. So okay, I'm using true or false, but of course you can use like current user dot is admin, right? Right, so this is this is true and false just to test it out, but this is how you would actually use it in real life. Or you can do things like current organization or account or whatever you have in your app. So okay, let's set this to false just to make sure it works. Okay, it does not, because we need to add this keyword to the divider as well. So go back to base dashboard. This is the card divider arguments, and we send the arguments and then base divider, and we just need to add this here. So visible nil and then visible. And now, because we don't have a visible block inside a divider class, we can just use visible here. So it will give us the actual instance variable. Okay, let's refresh. Perfect. Let's see, I think we need to refresh this as well. And if I look at dashboard for base divider, okay, base divider. Okay, so we don't have the dashboard in here, so let's add that base card. Let's see how we have it here. So we have the dashboard in the initializer, so the divider. Okay, let's add the dashboard here. Nil, maybe. Dashboard, and then dashboard. And then inside the base dashboard, we need to pass it the self. So arguments, so dashboard itself. Fingers crossed. Okay, that sounds good. And just to test out that we have access to everything, let's see. So let's put something in the dashboard card visible block, and now let's output like current user params. Actually, let's do something else. Current user params. Let's do what is it, card, and let's do dashboard. So we need to check that we have access to all of these. Okay, so we hit an error, so it's okay because we don't have dashboard, we have parent, and now we need to use this because we used parent. Yes, parent. Actually, I don't think so. So this is dashboard, this is not parent. So base card, we have dashboard, and we give it the parent as a dashboard, and the base divider, dashboard. That's actually, it's actually the parent. Yep. Let's try it again. Okay, perfect. And now let's see what we get in our, so let me just try it again. Cool, so let's go back. Okay, so in the dashboard's card visibility block, so we have the current user, check. We have the params, check. We have the card, check. The parent, which is the dashboard, -e. This is just a class. I know we need to refactor it into an instance, but we have it. So again, this is, let's see, this is example metric, but we should have a divider somewhere around here. Divider. Okay. Let's see. Oh, because we didn't, yeah. So let's move all of this. So the divider should be here. Card. Okay. Okay, let's do it again. Okay, so the card is actually the base divider. So now we have this as well, right? So now you should have all the necessary information so you can properly scope out the cards to that current user, right? And let's say you have something like, if let's current user is admin. So this would be one, and then you have it here as well. And then you add it to the next one. Actually, you don't need this. And then you add it to the next one. this is okay, actually we do need this. So this looks like a lot of like duplicated code. What you can do is, let's change this back, let's remove this, and let's take this and use with options, visible, okay, and say do and give it a block, and everything inside this block is going to have these options, right? So this option right here. So this now works as well. Cool. So I think so-called block to do this is something that I know, visible, dashboard. Okay, I remove this base divider, card visibility, base card. Okay, this looks pretty good. So the visible, we use that or that. Yep. So this is looking pretty good, and I'm probably just gonna write a few tests, and next I'm going to just release it. So it's going to be available in probably a pre-release and the next release in about 2 weeks. So yeah, amazing. Thank you, Paul, for flagging this. And yeah, now Avo is a little bit better. I hope you enjoyed this small tutorial or walkthrough about how we deal with new features and how we actually do development. And yeah, we're open to any questions. Thank you. See ya.